Now in today's class we will see how to fill up the atomic orbitals, right? And then we will see, once we know the rules behind filling up orbitals, right, then we will go ahead and write down the electronic configuration of atoms, right? And electronic configuration has been introduced to you in previous classes also, in class 9th and 10th, right? Just briefly, just let's take a look of it. If you have a sodium atom, right, whose atomic number is 11, we used to write the electronic configuration of sodium is as 281, right? This represents 281 represents the distribution of electrons in various orbits, right, around the nucleus. If this is the nucleus, then this is your first orbit that has 2 electrons. This is your second orbit that will have 8 electrons, right? And then this is your third orbit that has this outermost valence electron, right? Now this is n is equals to 1, this is n is equals to 2, and this is n is equals to 3, right? Now we know that n stands for principal quantum number, right? That represents the main shell of an atom, right? But now we are introduced that the shell consists of subshells, right? The subshells given by azimuthal quantum number denoted by L, right? Here let's talk of this. When n is equals to 1, L is equals to 0 to n minus 1, right? So it's 0. When n is equals to 2, then L is equals to 0 to n minus 1, that is 0 to 2 minus 1, 1, that is 1, right? Then n is equals to 3, that means L is equals to 0 to n minus 1, that is 3 minus 1, 2, that is 1 and 2, right? Now this L that represents the azimuthal quantum number, it tells you the shapes of the orbitals, right? Or say shapes of the sp and d subshells, right? We know that the shape of S is spherical and that of p is dumbbell, and shape of d is clover leaf, and the dz square orbital is your donut shaped, right? So principal quantum number tells you about the main shell, and azimuthal quantum number, which is also known as orbital angular moment, which is also known as subsidiary quantum number. Yeah, right. Subsidiary quantum number that defines the shape of the orbital. Or to be correct, it defines the 3-dimensional shape of the orbital. It will tell you the 3-dimensional shape of this. Okay, one more thing. This 0 represents s orbital, 1 represents p orbital. Similarly, for n is equals to 3, this is the subshell that has 3 subshells, 1 0 1 2, right? And these are, when we are looking at the orientation of these, right, s, p and d in 3-dimensional space, what we get are orbitals, right? So this is s orbital, p orbital and d orbital. Now if you look here at n is equals to 2, n is equals to 2, in n is equals to 2 second shell we have 8 electrons, right? Now we know that this shell consists of 3 orbitals, s, p and d, right? Now we will look into how to fill up electrons into those 3 orbitals, right, which are present in this main shell n is equals to 2, right? So one more thing that we have been introduced in previous video lecture, that one orbital can contain maximum of 2 electrons, right? So these orbitals s, p, d, f, whichever orbital, right, whichever shell, any orbital can contain maximum of 2 electrons, right? So the maximum electrons is 2. Maximum electrons in an orbital is 2, right? So these are the things that we already know. Then now we will see how to use these things, right? in writing the electronic configuration, and before we write the electronic configuration, we'll be looking into some rules that will guide us to fill up electrons in the various orbitals, that is s, p, d, right, and f. Maybe if the element have f orbital, then f filling up of electrons in f orbitals. Now this shell, right, we now know that it consists of subshells, right, orbitals. So we would be filling up electrons not only in this main shell. Now we will see how electrons are distributed in various orbitals that are in this main shell, right? And we know that any orbital, right, consists of maximum of 2 electrons, right, consists of maximum of 2 electrons. Now we'll look into the various rules that governs the distribution of electrons in various orbitals. So the first thing that we will be going through is your Aufbau principle. Aufbau principle. Aufbau principle, simply Aufbau means building up. Building up, right? Now this principle tells us, Aufbau principle tells us that when you fill up electrons in various orbitals, right, you will be filling up electrons in increasing order of the energy of orbitals, right, in increasing order of the energy of orbitals. That means first electron will go in the orbital of lowest energy, then the second electron will go in the orbital that has higher energy than the lowest energy orbital. So in this order we would be filling up the orbitals, right, with electrons. Now we have a simple diagram that will tell us the increasing order of this energy, right? As I said, that electrons will be filled up in orbitals in increasing order of their energy, right? So what is this increasing order of their energy? From where we will get this order of energy of orbitals is a diagram that we will be looking into in a moment, right? So building up of orbitals, that is building up of orbitals with electrons, right, is your Aufbau principle, right? Building up of orbitals with electrons, right? This is what it means. And what this principle tells you, that electrons will be filled in orbitals in increasing order of their energy, increasing order of energies, right? Now let's look at the order, from where to look at the order, because based on this principle only we can write the electronic configuration, right? So when we would be writing the electronic configuration, we need to know what is the order in which we should fill up electrons in various orbitals, right? Now let's look into that. It's a simple diagram, just learn how to write it so that you can easily draw it in exams before, in case you have to write electronic configuration of some complicated elements. This is 1s, right? 1s means s orbital of first shell, n is equals to 1 here, right? 2s, 2p, 3s, 3p, 3d, right? So now the fourth shell is 4s, 4p, 4d, 4f, spdf, right? 5s, 5p, 5d, 5f, right? 6s, 6p and 6d, 7s and 7p, right? This is the way you will write down all these orbitals. And then what we will be doing is, we will be just drawing these kind of arrows, right? This is how it is exactly drawn in your books, but just understand how to draw this. right? You will see circles like this, right, in all the orbitals. So the order is like this. You have built this 1s, then in the second row 2s and 2p, right? Third row would be for third shell, right? Like second row was for second shell, then sp are orbitals. Any shell, it will consist of spdf subshells, right? And third shell 3s 3p 3d. Fourth shell 4s 4p 4d 4f, right? Like this till seventh shell 7s and 7p. And what is the order now? Order of energy would be 2s, then comes 2s 2p, then comes 3s 3p 3d, 4s 4p 4d 4f, right? 2s 3s, I'm sorry, it's 2s, then you have 2p, you have 3s 3p, right, 3d, then you have 4s 4p 4d 4f, right, and so on. So the first orbital that will contain electron, or the first electron, will go into this 1s orbital. The second electron will go to 2s orbital, right, 2p orbital, then 3s orbital, and in this direction energy of these orbitals is increasing, right? Energy of orbitals is increasing in this direction, right? So this is what it says. And there is one more rule, n plus L rule, that tells you about the energy of orbital, right? For any orbital, let's say this n plus L would be, n is, here n stands for principal quantum number 1. For s the value of L is 0, right? 1 plus 0 1. For 2s, n plus L is equals to 2 plus 0, right? For 2p, you have n is 2 plus the value of p is 1. This is 3, right? So you can see that energy of orbital is, using n plus L rule, you can find the energy of these orbitals, right? So the one that has higher value of n plus L will have higher energy, or the one that has lower value of n plus L will have lower energy, right? So 1s has lower energy than 2s because n plus L value for 1s is less, right, less than 2s, right? So this is known as n plus L rule. As per this rule, the n plus L rule, in neutral isolated atoms, the lower the value of n plus L for an orbital, lower is its energy, right? So this is important rule, very very important rule, the Aufbau principle, as per which we would be, based on this rule, we would be filling up orbitals with electrons, right? And this filling up of orbitals should be in increasing order of energy. An energy order can be seen from this diagram, and this is the order. First electron will go to lowest energy orbital 1s, then 2s, then 2p. You can find this energy of these orbitals using n plus L rule, right? And based on n plus L rule, we can find the similar order, that if the value of n plus L is less, that means the energy of the orbital is less, right? So this is very important, right? And this is very very important in future to write down the electronic configuration of elements. Now this Aufbau principle that tells us about the distribution of electrons in various orbitals in increasing order of their energies is further, this is based on Pauli's exclusion principle and Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity, right? This is based on Pauli's exclusion principle, Pauli's exclusion principle, Pauli's exclusion principle, right? And the second rule is Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity. As per the Pauli's exclusion principle, For this, to know Pauli's exclusion principle, you should know what are quantum numbers, right? Because it directly talks about quantum numbers for two electrons that are in an orbital. We said that there can be maximum 2 electrons in the orbital. So what Pauli's exclusion principle tells us, that an electron, that it tells us that the two electrons that are present in an orbital can have the value of 3 quantum numbers same. They can have the same value of 3 quantum numbers, that is principal quantum number, azimuthal quantum number, and your magnetic quantum number. But for these two electrons which are in the single orbital, the value of the fourth quantum number, which is your spin quantum number, would be different, right? So in any case, the value of the fourth quantum number, which is your spin quantum number, would be different for the two electrons in the same orbital, right? So as per Pauli's exclusion principle, no two electrons in an atom can have same value of 4 quantum numbers. So same quantum numbers, 4 quantum numbers, right? So they can have principal, azimuthal, right, and magnetic quantum number same, right? But spin quantum number would always be different. For two electrons in an orbital, right? Because we can have maximum of only 2 electrons in an orbital, right? So the value of those quantum numbers, spin quantum number, would be different, and we know that there can be two values of spin quantum number. There are two spin states basically, right? One is clockwise, other is anti-clockwise, because as per spin quantum number, the electrons that are revolving around the nucleus, right, in addition, they are revolving around the nucleus, and at the same time they are also spinning about their own axis, right? That means if this is the electron, right, that is, let's say this electron is here, this is revolving, right, and at the same time this is also spinning about its own axis, right? So two electrons in the same orbital would be spinning in different directions, right? If one is spinning in anti-clockwise, the other would be spinning in clockwise direction, right? So this is your Pauli's exclusion principle. As per Pauli's exclusion principle, the fourth quantum number is excluded, right, from having the same value for the two electrons, right? So if one electron has plus half spin state, this is clockwise, plus half spin state, which is denoted by, if you remember, this arrow pointing upwards. The other would have minus half spin state, right, would be represented by down arrow, right? So that is why in future we'll see that when we will write electronic configuration, right, in these kind of boxes, if an orbital, this box represents an orbital, and if it has two electrons, we will represent two electrons using up arrow and down arrow. It will never be that both the arrows are up or both the arrows are down. That would not be right. So this is the right configuration. One is up, the other is down, right? So this is your Pauli's exclusion principle, right? And this rule basically tells you how to fill up electrons in an orbital, right? The electrons that you fill up in an orbital should have opposite spins, right? That is, this opposite spins is shown by these up and down arrows. So the two electrons in an orbital should have opposite spin, right? Now there is third important rule, which is your Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity. Right, as per Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity, this applies to the orbitals of same subshell, right? Like you have p subshell, right? So, or d subshell, it applies to electrons in the p subshell or the d subshell, right? So we say it applies to orbitals of same subshell, and orbitals of same subshell have equal energy, right? For example, if this is p orbital, sorry, this is p subshell, this p subshell has three orbitals, px, py, pz, right, based on their orientations in 3 dimensions, right? So all these, the electrons in all these 3 orbitals will have equal energy, right? And those are known as, we call them as degenerate orbitals. Degenerate orbitals means orbitals that have same energy. All these 3 orbitals of p subshell, right, will have same energy. So doesn't matter if electron is present in px, py or pz, the energy would be same. So such orbitals that have same energy are degenerate orbitals, right? So Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity, we'll see what it means by maximum multiplicity in a moment. Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity guides us, it guides us to fill up electrons in the orbitals of same subshell, right? And it tells us that the pairing will start, that the pairing in orbitals of the same subshell will start once all the orbitals are half filled, right? That is, if these are 3 orbitals, right, if these are 3 orbitals, px, py and pz, right, and if I have, say, 4 electrons that I have to distribute in this p subshell, right, then first I'll distribute one electron in each of the 3 orbitals, right? I have 4 total electrons that I need to fill up in the p subshell, right? So how will I fill up the electrons in the orbitals of p subshell, right? These orbitals are degenerate orbitals, right? So first, as per Hund's rule, I need to have maximum of unpaired electrons in the p subshell, in each of the orbitals, right? I need to have maximum of unpaired electrons. So first I will fill one electron each, right? Now 1 electron is left, right? Now I will start pairing, right? Now I will start pairing. I'll put the 1 electron in the px orbital, right? Once all these 3 orbitals have 1 electron each, or we say once all these 3 orbitals are singly occupied or singly filled, then only we can go ahead and start pairing of electrons, right? Suppose if I write it like this, right, I have 4 electrons. If I write it like this, right, this orbital is empty, so I have 1 orbital left unfilled, right? So this is not correct. As per the Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity, I should have maximum singly occupied orbitals, right? And why do we say that we should have the singly filled orbitals, right? Why singly filled orbitals? What could be the reason? Because these are, you can see these are electrons, right, that are in the same orbital, and we know that electrons carry same charge, negative charge, right? So filling up them in the same orbital means the maximum repulsive force, right? If you fill up these orbitals, if you fill up the orbital with 2 electrons, right, the 2 electrons will have maximum repulsion since they are close to one another, right? So as per Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity, I should place one electron in each orbital. That is, I'm trying to unpair them, right? I'm trying to have one electron in each orbital so that the inter-electronic repulsion, right, is minimum, right? If I have more inter-electronic repulsion, that will lead to instability. So in order to have minimum in order to have minimum inter-electronic repulsion, I will have maximum unpaired electrons or maximum singly occupied orbitals, right? So I should have maximum singly occupied orbitals. Once all the orbitals are singly occupied, then I will start pairing up electrons, because I should have minimum paired up orbitals, right? So as to minimize the inter-electronic repulsion. This is your Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity, right? Now let's quickly look at what is this maximum multiplicity, right? By maximum multiplicity, we mean that when we say maximum multiplicity, it means that the total spin of unpaired electrons should be maximum, right? The total spin of unpaired electrons should be maximum. Here, if you will see, let's take some example to show the maximum unpaired electrons and their spin, right? Suppose let's take the example of nitrogen, right? Let's take the example of nitrogen, right? Nitrogen has 7 electrons, 7 atomic number, sorry, right? Now if we look at this subshell, p subshell, what is its what would be its spin, right? Total spin, because as per the rule, its total spin should be maximum, right? As per the Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity, total spin of unpaired electrons, if I calculate here, the total spin is half plus half plus half. It would be 1 thus, right? Now suppose let's take example, if I notice one more thing, that all these electrons are showing up arrow, right? No one is showing down arrow, right? Down arrow means, again, it means it would mean that it should have parallel spins. Since I've shown all these electrons with up arrows, it means they all have parallel spins, right? That is in the same direction. This is due to the fact that the two electrons with parallel spin will encounter less interionic repulsion, right? So parallel spins, we should have parallel spins as well, parallel spins, so as to have minimum inter-electronic repulsion, right? Parallel spin will give you minimum inter-electronic repulsion. Now if instead of this, I'll do it like this. If I take one with down arrow, right, like this, then what would be the spin? Then as per the Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity, will I have maximum multiplicity? Will I have maximum spin? For down arrow we have minus half, it would be half. Spin now in this case is less than in the previous case, right? So we need to have maximum spin, right? In order to have maximum spin, we need to have all these electrons should have parallel spin, should be in the same direction, because that arrangement will give you minimum inter-electronic repulsion, right? And maximum unpaired electrons will also give you minimum inter-electronic repulsion. So remember these two things, these are important, right, for Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity, right? So these are the two rules. Now in the next video lecture we will look into how to write down the electron